Sometimes you don't think very much about the end rows of the field, but really there are a lot of management issues that happen here that we don't see in other parts of the field.
Well, whether you're a farmer or a non-farmer, I think it's important to understand that whole fields are a lot different than just a few rows around the end of every field. So for example, when you have ends of fields, they're typically right by road ditches that have tall grass, and it's an easy place for a lot of insects to land, like moths especially, and they'll lay eggs. So we generally see the highest insect pressure in the whole field just on the few end rows of the field. So because of that, on our farm at least, we manage the end rows a little different than we manage the rest of the field. We'll go out real early before we're spraying the whole field for weeds or anything like that, and we'll actually spray insecticide around the outside few rows of the field, and sometimes we'll even spray insecticide a little bit into the fence line or even the ditch, just to make sure we're controlling things like stalk borers and grasshoppers and a number of other insects. But it seems like every year this is always where we have a problem, is around the ends. So we've just gone to managing that differently, spraying insecticide there. Yeah, it costs a few bucks, but you know what? Now our outside rows of the field are protected.
Well, as farmers, if you look at the land ownership, it's not always the farmer that owns the land. Oftentimes it's someone who lives in town or who used to farm but's retired now that you're renting the ground from. And you know, Brent, when our grandma drives to church on Sunday, I know she drives by her fields, and we can't let grandma see our fields look tough around the outside edges because she might think that's how the whole field looks.
Yep, that's a very good point. So if you want to impress your neighbors
or your grandma
or your landlords, then you want to make sure you're protecting those outside few rows of the field, because that's what people are going to see. So not only is it a yield issue, it also is a cosmetic issue and a thing where you just want to make sure that people understand, especially if it's somebody else's ground, they understand that you're caring for their ground as best as you possibly can. So we talked about bugs a little bit, but the same kind of thing happens with weeds. We have more weed problems around the outsides of fields.
Well, one of the things that we see, there's generally a roadside ditch around the outside edge of the field along the road, and you generally see brome grass in that ditch that likes to creep into the field. So farmers have to fight grasses like perennial grasses, specifically brome grass creeping into the field, but also weeds. If there's some weeds that are in that ditch or that blow across the road from the neighbor's field or something along those lines.
Blame the neighbor.
Well, it could be birds too that land on the high line wires that are chewing on seeds that happen to drop into the field. There have been many documented cases of birds spreading weeds. Whatever the case may be, the edges of the field are going to be the first place where new weeds enter the field, and you've got to take care of those weeds before they spread through the whole field.
Yep, so once again, on our farm, one of the practices that we always do is before we're out spraying weeds in the whole field, we go around the borders of every single field. It only takes 1 or 2 full tank loads, and we can do all our fields, corn and beans together. It's no big deal because we're just spraying like the outside 8 rows or so. So we'll go along and spray with both herbicide and insecticide around the borders of all our fields to make sure we're killing those extra weeds and those extra bugs that always show up in those areas of the field.
Well, taking care of the edges of the field is important, but taking care of some big weed problems throughout your whole farm are important too, like our weed of the week. Can you identify this week's weed?